The Russian freighter Ursa Major sank in the Mediterranean Sea, raising suspicions far greater than those surrounding an ordinary industrial shipment. Components linked to submarine nuclear reactors, possibly destined for North Korea this Wednesday, May 13, 2026. The case gained traction because investigations cited by the international press indicate that the ship was part of the so-called Russian Shadow Fleet. It left St. Petersburg, claimed it was heading to Vladivostok, but may have concealed a strategic mission from Moscow to deliver sensitive technology to Kim Jong-un's regime. 2 crew members died, 14 were rescued, and the ship now rests at a depth of about 2,000 to 2,500 meters, in an area between Spain and Algeria. There's even stronger speculation about the direct involvement of the United States in this tragedy. I'll tell you all about that in a moment, but right now you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed. Real-time information with the best journalistic quality ever seen and a standard of credibility. Milson Alves. What was at stake wasn't just a ship lost at sea. The vessel belonged to Oberon Logistics, a company connected to the Russian Ministry of Defense and targeted by sanctions from the United States and the European Union. Officially, the manifest listed 129 containers, cranes, and industrial equipment. But according to the Associated Press, Spanish authorities said that the captain himself mentioned 2 nuclear reactor components without nuclear fuel, similar to those used in submarines. This detail changes the weight of the story. It's not about radiation being spread in the sea, but about a possible attempt to deliver sensitive military technology to a nation that already challenges the world with missiles, nuclear tests, and constant threats. The sinking occurred in December 2024 near the southeast coast of Spain after explosions in the engine room area. The Russian version pointed to sabotage and even mentioned a terrorist attack. Meanwhile, investigations cited by Western outlets raise the possibility of external intervention to prevent the delivery of the cargo. The Guardian reported that seismic signals similar to mine explosions were detected before the cargo ship disappeared at the bottom of the Mediterranean. The behavior of a Russian military vessel also drew attention as it reportedly took over the rescue area and made external observation difficult. That's where Trump's shadow enters the picture. There is no public evidence that Donald Trump ordered any action against the Russian ship. But speculation is growing because this kind of operation, when it involves nuclear cargo, casts a shadow. Anything involving Russia, North Korea, and the Mediterranean rarely happens without major power intelligence, such as America's powerful intelligence services. CNN reported flights of American aircraft used to detect nuclear signals over the shipwreck region. In 2025 and 2026, it shows that Washington was following the case with extreme attention. Under Trump, the political interpretation becomes even harsher. If Moscow tried to deliver submarine nuclear technologies to Pyongyang, the White House would have a strategic reason to track, expose, or support an indirect action to block this route. The suspicion grows even stronger because Russia and North Korea have expanded their military cooperation since the war in Ukraine. International reports indicated that Pyongyang sent ammunition, missiles, and even troops to support Moscow. How much might Russia have helped North Korea in sensitive military areas, including missile and satellite technology? If the components of Ursa Major were indeed linked to submarine reactors, the political payoff could be clear. The location also doesn't seem to be a coincidence. The Mediterranean is a sensitive route, monitored by navies, satellites, sensors, and Western allies. A sanctioned Russian ship with a military escort carrying heavy objects and supposedly undeclared cargo, all crossing a region close to NATO nations, naturally becomes a target for monitoring. Spain rescued the survivors and questioned the crew, but the depth of the wreck prevented a simple inspection of the cargo. Russia tried to control the narrative, describing the episode as sabotage. But the problem for Moscow is that the mere suspicion of nuclear cargo already causes diplomatic damage. If the cargo was ordinary, then why would the captain have mentioned reactor components? If the trip was only to Vladivostok, then why are there so many indications pointing to a possible secret route involving North Korea? These questions fuel the chaos because Moscow is not only facing the loss of a freighter, but also the exposure of a possible clandestine military transfer network. The strongest historical comparison comes from the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. At that time, John Kennedy imposed a naval quarantine around Cuba to prevent the Soviet Union from continuing to send offensive military material to the island. The logic was simple. When a rival power tries to alter the nuclear balance through maritime transport, the sea becomes the first line of containment. The case of Ursa Major follows this same strategic logic, although in a different form. There was no public speech announcing the blockade, nor any open confrontation between fleets. But the essence is similar: to prevent sensitive technology from reaching a hostile regime before the problem gets bigger. Other nations have also acted before hostile nuclear programs advanced. Israel destroyed the Iraqi Osirak reactor in 1981 because it believed that Saddam Hussein could turn nuclear capability into an existential threat. In 2007, Israel attacked a facility in Syria which, according to later assessments, had characteristics of an undeclared nuclear reactor. These examples show that when governments believe that nuclear technology could fall into enemy hands, the response usually comes before full public confirmation. The case of the Russian ship falls into this dark tradition. The threat is not allowed to mature when the cargo could change the military balance of an entire region. For Trump, the sinking of the Ursa Major could become a political weapon against Putin and Kim Jong-un. If the White House manages to argue that Russia tried to transfer nuclear submarine technology to North Korea, the case reinforces the thesis that Moscow is using the war in Ukraine to build a dangerous military alliance with isolated regimes. It also strengthens the pressure for sanctions, naval surveillance, and intelligence actions against the Russian shadow fleet. Even without admitting involvement, Trump can exploit the episode as a sign that his policy of strength is cornering adversaries before they can move sensitive pieces by sea. Now, the next step involves three fronts. Spain maintains the weight of the investigation, but the depth of the shipwreck makes any simple visual evidence difficult. The United States and its allies can use satellite data, maritime sensors, and navigation records to reconstruct the ship's actual route. Russia, in turn, is expected to continue denying the nuclear smuggling version and trying to treat the case as an attack on a civilian vessel. Meanwhile, North Korea remains at the center of suspicion, because it would be the possible beneficiary of a cargo that could accelerate its submarine ambitions and increase the threat in the Pacific. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe, and check the comments at the end to engage more with the community. Milson Alves.